Guess what? I'm back, and finally I can say welcome back to my channel, Scrap and Coffee, coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. I mean, how crazy is this? I mean, far out, right? Did I say that right? Probably not. Sorry if I'm insulting anybody with that terrible try there, but I'm just very, very excited to be here again with all of you. Thank you for your patience, but I'm here with a new project, and this is the start of a new series that I'm going to start on my channel that I'm going to call Latte Projects. And I was actually going to call it Cappuccino Projects, but as it turned out, I don't know how to spell cappuccino, so latte was just easier. No, I'm just kidding. Latte is, I always thought that cappuccinos were my favorite coffee, but it turns out that's actually a latte. So latte it is, and it spells easier. So I'm going to show you this project. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. So let's get into it. What are we going to do with latte projects is these projects are perfect if you are a beginner, new to this, or maybe if you struggle a little bit more with decorating. Those are just things that I'm going to try to take it a little bit more back to the basics, which is perfect because I don't have a lot of stuff. So I also need to go back to the basics a little bit. And we are going to start off with a folio. But if you are a little bit more of an advanced crafter, don't go away. These projects can be spiced up to your liking as you want to. So even if you are a little bit more advanced, you can still make these projects. Okay, so for the first project in this new series, our latte projects, we are going to make a folio that measures 8¼ by 6¼ with a 1-inch spine. It's nothing special, like I said, it's perfect for beginners, but you can spice it up if you want to. What I did is I made this folio, I've decorated it, and I have a second paper pack of this collection. I was lucky enough to get it at a discount because they had a sale at Kaisercraft. So I thought, why not? Let's do this. Normally I won't do this, but yeah, I could get it so cheap that I wanted to do it like this. That prevents me from having to think the whole decorating while I'm on video because I can really doubt, and that will take a very long time. So I have an extra pack of that 12 by 12 to decorate the folio that I'm making on camera. What I also have are some die cuts. So one paper pack of 12 by 12 with 12 sheets of paper is enough for this project. I have some die cuts. I also have the 6½-inch paper pack, but I don't think I will need it for decorating the folio. I'm sure I might use it for some photo mats, but I think I'm going to save it for a small folio where you can use your 6-inch paper pads on. But we will see. And I've used about 10 sheets of 12 by 12-inch cardstock for the construction that I will show you in a second. So let me show you this album quickly because I'm already talking way too long without having done anything. I've kept it really simple and plain with the decorating, but I am going to show you how you can use your, without meaning this in a bad way because I love these collections, your somewhat less interesting paper collections. I hope I'm not insulting anybody, and really create something that still looks good to the eye and just a little bit more interesting than when you would just got one piece of paper to fit on your black piece here. So we have a folio here that is mirrored on both sides almost exactly. There is one little difference on both sides that you will see in a minute. And so that makes it also easy because you get to repeat what you have been doing. And what I have here are just 2 flaps that I just left like this. And you can do, that's what I was in doubt about, maybe put some acetate here and just make that a whole page with acetate. But I think I want to keep it easy for this first project and I'm not going to do it. You can just leave it like this, that's fine. But what you can also do is create a fun photo mat and we can just stick that on here with some embellishments just to spice it up a little bit. We cannot go too bulky here because we need this to fit nicely there. But we can place a photo mat or something on there. So when we open it up, I'm going to start on this side. Both sides will be almost the same. We have some stacked pockets here. And as you see, I've made angles in these pockets. You don't have to do that. So if you think that's too intimidating, you don't have to do it. But I will show you how you can do it. And these pockets both go all the way to the bottom. This is just a decorative strip. Then we have a flap here. We can place a photo on here. On the other side, I have placed some photo mats here and there to show you what you can do. And then this is the same image that I have on the front cover. And here I've cut into the tree, or actually just outside of it. So you can, a smaller photo. This is a 6x4 or a full-size photo. These are 3.5 by 5. So I've used some different sizes. I always like to do that. And I can slide that behind here. Now I'm a little bit in doubt if I'm going to do this in the other album or not. But if I do it, I might do it on a different spot. So I will change some of the decorating up a little bit where I feel like I don't completely love what I did here. I will change that up in the new one. Then we have a pocket here. So again, we can place photo mats in here. And these are 2 flaps. And on the flap we have a pocket that can fit that 3.5 by 5 photo or smaller. And then on top of the pocket we have a belly band. And if you don't want to do the angles, if you want to make that straight, you can also keep it straight. But I think all these angles just make it for a fun and cohesive folio. And then on the other side, we've played with the paper a little bit, or at least I did, and we're going to do that in the other one as well. Room for photos, and then, like I said, on the other side I show you how you can put a photo on these places. And then when we open it up again, we have another pocket here. So the same pocket as on this side. And then right here, I just placed pattern paper. I did an extra decorative strip, and with a little embellishment there, I've stuck that down in a way that I can place one 3.5 by 5 photo right there, and also on top. So I could place 2 photos. You don't have to, you can also do just one, or one photo like that. Everything is possible, right? Okay, closing all of this up. So as you will see, the other side is almost the same. Again, we have that flap. This is a little boring. I'm going to change something up here a little bit. Then on this side, instead of the normal pocket like this, on this side we have the pocket sideways. So that's the only difference. And if you like one or the other pocket better, then you can also do that on both sides if you want to. Again, here the pockets with the angle and the belly band on top. And then on this side we have the same thing as we have on the other side, but here I did a 3x4 photo. There is a little embellishment there, but I glued it down, but normally I won't do that, right? I would glue it down on top of the photo and not on the photo mat. And here again a 3.5 by 5 photo, and this is glued down because this is just for showing you guys. And then here, and again, the side pocket for larger photo mats or some larger things that you want to put in here. And then here I've used a sticker that was a little bit of a wider strip, so we can place 1 or 2 photos or a little decorative thingy behind it. So that is what we are making. I didn't make any photo mats for this project. We will do that for the other one, but this is what we are going to make. And right now I'm going to show you how. Okay, after all that talking, it's time to get some work done, right? So as you can see, I have prepared my pieces of cardstock. You can download your free cutting guide on my website, scrapandcoffee.com, but there's also a link to that provided down below in the description box. So if you just scroll down just under the video, you would see a little something that says, "Hi there, welcome back to my channel." And there's a little arrow that says show more. And if you click on it, then it will roll out and you will find the link. And just scroll down on the blog post and you will find a download button for a PDF file with the free cutting guide. But I also, because it's a latte project, I'm going to give you measurements and tell you where to score and place your tape. I always like to use double-sided tape, but if you like to use a wet glue, that's also fine, right? You can do this however you prefer to do things. We are going to start with making our cover, our base, and for that we are going to need our pieces A, B and C. So I'm going to get a scoreboard in quickly so I can show you where to score these pieces. But I've already done that myself. So I hope that I'm getting this in frame because my phone always films a little bit more close up than my camera does, but that's fine. So for piece A, now this is cardstock from Kaisercraft as well, and it has a little bit of yeah, you're probably not able to catch that on camera, but it's not smooth. It has a little bit of Well, the word is not coming to me. But you know what I mean probably. The texture, there we go. It's lightly textured cardstock, and I made sure that when I was scoring that the textured side, because one side is a little bit textured and one side is more smooth, but was facing me. So I tried to be consistent with that while I was scoring. Now this piece was cut to 11 inches in length by 8¼ inches in height. So this folio can be made with either your A4 size, your letter size, or your 12 by 12 size cardstock. Which is pretty convenient, I think. But with the 11 inches side on top of the scoreboard, I've scored 1/2 inch, 1½ inches, 7¾ and 8¼ and that gives us 4 score lines on here. And then for piece B, this piece is 9½ inches, again by 8¼ inches high, and we've scored at 6¼ and 6¾ of an inch. These pieces are going to form the outside cover. And then for piece C, you're going to need 2 pieces, both the same, 7 inches by again 8¼ inches high. We've scored at 1/2 inch and at 3/4 of an inch. So you get a 1/4 inch gusset area there. 2 pieces, I prepared one, but we're going to place the tape together. So on piece A, we are going to place some tape. I've scored on this side. I have a dented side of my score line here. I'm trying to get in the light, but this is indented, so I'm calling that the dented side of the score line. And then when we turn it over, you have a bumpy side. The score line is coming out of your paper, it feels bumpy. On this particular piece, we are going to place our tape on the bumpy side of your piece, and we are going to do that right here on that first 1/2 inch. So you have that 1 inch gusset there between your score lines, and then this is a 1/2 inch part. That's where we are going to place that tape. Don't forget, if you use double-sided tape, to give it a good burnish. It will stick better. And then I'm going to angle that 1/2 inch part. So I'm putting my scissors just above that 1/2 inch score line and just cut with a slight angle. And that's just for hiding construction. We just want to prevent that 1/2 inch is going to stick out on the bottom or on the top of our other piece of cardstock. And then what I'm going to do for now is just lightly fold on that 1/2 inch score line. And I'm going to get my piece B in. So again, this is the side that we scored on. I'm going to turn it over where I can see the bumpy side of the score lines. And I want to have the large part going on top of that 1/2 inch of piece A. So that's what we are going to connect. Now again, you can do this however you like. I just remove the tape backing completely. You can do it partially, you can add some wet glue to give you some wiggle time. Everything is just fine. I'm placing it up against the score line here that I folded on, that 1/2 inch score line, but I don't want to go over. And I try to line up the bottom as best as I can. Just making sure I still see that score line. Just take your time on these sort of things. Don't feel rushed. And also the good thing about the videos is if I go too quick, you can just pause the video or rewind. Now I'm folding on that 1/2 inch that we already folded on a little bit, and I'm giving that a good burnish. And basically I'm going to do that on all our score lines now. Just make sure that you line up on top and bottom. If you really go off, if you really feel that you go like this, exaggerating, then just push it in place and re-burnish your score line. It happens sometimes. And what I do, what you see is I fold it by hand, I flip it over where that is underneath, and then I burnish. I don't know, for some reason it just gives me a straighter fold. Maybe it's just something that I told myself that that's the case. I don't know, that's just what I do. So same thing here. And then our cover is basically made. if you want to, and you have Tyvek, then you can make your spine stronger by cutting a piece of Tyvek. I would say about 3 inches, so you have an inch overlapping on both sides to make this spine stronger. You could also do that on the side spines. I haven't done it for my folio and I'm completely happy with it the way it is. So, but if you want to do that, that's definitely something that you can do. Okay, there's not really a wrong or a right side or a front or a back, but what I will do is the little attachment strip that we have here. I'm going to make that my back side of the cover. So I'm going to make sure that that is on the right hand side. And again, there is not really a top or a bottom, but you will notice that if you flip it over, then that attachment strip is on the left hand side and it will end up on your front cover. So I'm going to make sure that that ends up on my back cover. And then we are going to get our pieces C in. We can just do both of them. But on PC, we are going to place our tape on the indented side. That's actually what we do as a basic rule. Your tape or your adhesive will go on the indented side unless I say otherwise. So if I don't say anything, it's the indented side. So on the first piece we had a little bit, we stepped away from that basic rule basically. We are going to place it close to the cut edge on that first ½ inch. So between your cut edge and your ½ inch score line. From top to bottom. I use 3/8 inch tape. That's my tape that I prefer, but you will see that later on we will also use some 1/4 inch tape. And again, I'm going to do the same thing as I did earlier on. I'm going to angle that ½ inch. So make sure you don't cut into your score line. You just want to angle that first ½ inch part for hiding construction, and we can fold both score lines. So that's one. Okay, we're getting the cover back in, making sure that that attachment strip is on the right hand side so it falls, it's going to be on the back cover, but again, up to this point it doesn't really matter. I'm going to fold on PC on that ½ inch score line. So my little gusset area, I can see that when I turn it over. And I'm going to place this ½ inch on this large part here, up against the score line. So I'm going to, not on the spine, we're going to keep that free. We are just going to place it up against that score line. I always give things a dry fit, not only for myself to make sure that it fits, but also to show you what I'm doing. So I removed the tape backing just a little bit. That's how I prefer to do these sort of things. And then I'm going to line it up where I want it. Now I see my flap is a hair longer than my actual cover. That's because of the trimmer that I have. I find it hard to cut really precise on it. I am getting better at it, but I'm not quite there yet, as I can see. Also, I'm not completely happy with how straight that is, but you know what, it's all good. Okay, so I'm going to push back on this piece so that 1/4 inch gusset is going to stand up. And then our first piece is in place. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other one, just on the opposite side of the spine in the middle. So again, I'm lining it up here with the bottom edge. Just put it up against that score line of the spine without going over. And push it down. And then I don't think I did this on the other side just yet. I'm going to give that a good burnish there. And again, push up so that 1/4 inch gusset is standing up. And with that, we have our base completed. We can go to the next step where we create our stack pockets. Okay, for our stack pockets, we're going to need our pieces D, E, and F. We're going to start with piece D. These are going to be flaps and pieces. Let me show you again the score lines. So for piece D, 2 flaps that are 6 inches by, I believe, 7.5. Yes, and with the 6 inch side on top, we've scored 1/2 inch both pieces. Then we have 2 pieces E. So I've prepared one already to save some time. But for pieces E, these are 6 3/8 by 3.5 inches. And on the 6 3/8 inch side, you scored 1/2 inch and 5 7/8 of an inch. And on the 3.5 inch side, we scored 1/2 inch. So again, 2 pieces and 2 pieces of F. Again, I've prepared one already a little bit. That is again 6 3/8 of an inch, and this times 3 inches. So on the 6 3/8 again, we score 1/2 inch, 5 7/8 of an inch. And this time we've scored on the 3 inside 3/4 of an inch. That's important, 3/4 of an inch, especially if you want to do the angle. And I will show you in a minute why. So for piece D, again on the dented side, we are going to place our adhesive, our tape, between the cut edge and your first 1/2 inch score line. So I'm gonna place that there. And again, don't forget to burnish. I always get a lot of questions about my bone folder, and this is not the bone folder that you have been seeing in my previous videos, because that bone folder still needs to come to me, so I got a new one. This one is from, my old one is from Dress My Craft, and this one is from Craft Treat. This one is a little bit smaller in size, a little less heavy, so yeah, they both work really well. It's my preferred bone folder for construction. So I really wanted one to work with. It's just, I just enjoy it so much. But it's called an ergonomic bone folder. So if you are looking for one, I guess if you just type that in, you will find it. And it's Teflon, so it's a really good quality product. They're not cheap, but you will use them for a very long time. So pieces D, we folded on our score line. We always fold towards the bumpy side, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier on, but that's what we do. So when we place our tape, it's going to end up on the outside. Then for pieces E, as you can see, I've already prepared one where we are going to make the angle. If you don't want to have the angle, you can just leave it straight. You don't have to do the part here with the pencil lines, just skip it. But what I did to make the angle is get a ruler, and if you have a grid ruler like the Tim Holtz one, that's really ideal. Otherwise you need to take a little bit of extra steps to get this done. But I'm going to place it like I have a score line on both sides, and I have one here at the bottom. Oh, that one went out of focus. But I'm going to place it in front of me where that score line on the long side is ending up on top. I don't have a score line here. And that's the side that I'm going to mark my pencil lines. I'm gonna go 5/8 of an inch inwards, and I'm going to make a dot on the center of the length. So I'm going to find the center of this piece. And these pieces have a little bit of a, well, it's not a weird measurement, but it's like a 3/8 of an inch. But I figured out that if I placed my 2 and 5 inch line, which is right here, 2 and 5/8 and 2 and 5/8 on the inside of my score line, I'm pretty much in the center. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And then I have my 5/8 inch grid lined up here with the cut edge of my cardstock here on the long side, and I'm going to make a dot. So if you don't have the grid ruler, you would have to measure 5/8 of an inch inwards, and then measure from your cut edge. Let's see, it's just under 3¼ inches, just under that. Okay, so once we've made that little dot, I'm going to connect the dot all the way up here to the top of the score line. So not the cut edge, but the top of the score line. I will show it up close in a second when I've done my pencil line. And I'm going to do that towards both sides. So up to the top of the score line. And then we can cut that out. You can do that with scissors, that would work perfectly fine. or with a knife. You can do it even in your paper trimmer, I guess, but that's not my preferred method. But I always like to use a little piercing tool, and now this came with a whole set that I've bought from Your Memory Keepers, otherwise I would not have this with me right now, but I have it, so I'm going to do both pieces right now. And I think I'm just going to use my scissors because I only have a craft knife that again came with that set from Your Memory Keepers, but the blade of a craft knife is a little bit flexible, and if you're cutting really straight lines, you have the risk of making a small bend in your line and not get a nice straight cut. That's why I always use a straight blade, but I don't have that right now. But I have these really nice long but heavy scissors from Your Memory Keepers now, so I'm just going to use that to cut on that pencil line up to that little point that I just pierced there, and then that makes it a little easier to make that turn in the paper for me, because if I have to cut from this side I don't really see my pencil line. And if you don't cut perfect, you know, don't sweat it, it's all fine. So same thing on this side, on this piece. But it's just a relatively easy way of just creating a little bit more interest in your project than just having a straight pocket. And I know there are companies out there that have really great dies to make really great edges on your border of your pocket. So if you have those, then you can also use those, right? I don't have it. I don't even have my die cutting machine, so even if I would have it, I would not be able to use it right now. But this is also, like I said, back to the basics. You don't need all those things to create something nice and interesting. So as you can see here, I've placed tape on the 3 sides with a score line, again on the dented side. And you can go from cut edge until you meet the score line right there. You don't have to go all the way to the cut edge. That's just a waste of your expensive tape. We're going to cut that off anyway. And then again, don't forget to give that a good burnish for a good stick of your tape. And as you can see here, I'm going to cut at a 45-degree angle. You have a little intersection of your score lines right there on your piece, and we're going to cut straight through that intersection, like I said, at about a 45-degree angle. We are reducing bulk in our projects. And then flip it over to the bumpy side and fold on your score lines. Make sure that when you fold the third one over, that you don't have any overlap like I have here, because then you would still have bulk. So you just go back in a little bit and recut that. No, I'm rusty too, you see, it happens to me too. And again, get rid of all the stickiness. And I just fold it, again flip it over to the good side and then give it a burnish. Now you can cut off these little flaps here that overhang. I'm just going to leave it. We're going to cover that up with our second pocket. And even with pattern paper. So that's perfect. What I'm also doing, which is new to me, is I am working while I'm standing. I was always sitting down, but I'm sitting down too much. So I thought this is a good way of standing on my legs a little bit more, standing on my feet a little bit more. Okay, then we have 2 pieces of F that we are going to prepare. So this looks a little bit different than what we just did. So I'm going to show you right here. First off, we're going to make that same angle in this piece. So I'm going to flip it where my score line on the long side is along the top. I'm going to find the center of my piece and go in 5/8 of an inch. Do I do that right? Quarter, half, 5/8. A quarter, half, 5/8. Yeah. Make a little dot and bring it to that score line on top, or actually right now at the bottom, right? But it's actually the top of your pocket. There we go. So I make the pencil lines on both pieces already, but I need to cut it. So if you are going for this angle, you commit to it, because you are doing it on actually on every pocket that we make. At least that's what I'm doing. You don't have to do that, of course. But you also need to do this in your pattern paper, right? So it might be that at the end of this project you are thinking like, I'm never doing an angle in my pockets ever again. But it's all worth it. Okay, then for adhesive or tape, we're only placing our adhesive here on the short side, on that 1/2 inch spaces. Again, you only have to go up to that score line that you meet here at that 3/4 inch part. Stickiness is everywhere. Get off me. So I always, when I'm making folios, I like to construct the folio in its whole and then start decorating. But you can also build this piece, decorate it, and then put it in your folio if you prefer to. But that's completely up to you. I'm going to make a little bit of a different cut. So we are going to create this shape. I am going just above the 3/4 inch score line here on the long side, just above it, so on the tape side, cut straight up to my intersection of score lines. So just cut straight, then turn it over and then cut with an angle from the bottom, cut up to the intersection with an angle, just like that. And we are going to do the same thing right here. So just above the score line, cut straight to the intersection and then with an angle. And then we have our pieces F prepared. So again, I don't know, did I say it on the other piece, but remove any pencil lines that you still might be able to see. Just try to remember to do it. Sometimes I notice that I forgot during construction, and then you can also still do it before you put on your pattern paper, but risks are that you are going to forget. Okay, so now we're going to make 2 sets. Both sets will have, oh no, wait, we still have to fold on the score lines, right? So fold on your side flaps only. Let's do that. And so this is just going to stay as it is. Give that a burnish. Let's do that for both pieces. So I really enjoy this cardstock from Kaisercraft. It's it's sturdy, but it works really easy. It folds my score lines pretty easy. So we're going to make 2 sets. Each set will have 1 piece E and 1 piece F, and actually also 1 piece of D. So I'm going to put 1 set to the side, and we'll get 1 set here in front of me. And I'm going to start on the first piece with my folded edge on the left hand side. So you can fold it in if you want to. You can also lay it flat, because what's going to happen, we are going to start lining it up on the cut edge side here. And when we line that up, and I will show you that later up close, and you will place it down, you will have about a 1/8 inch space between the end of your pocket and your fold line of piece D. So what I want to show you is, if you start decorating, you will get a little bit of a black edge on your piece, because you need to cut your paper a little shorter than your actual flap is. I don't know how well you can see it, but if you don't like that gap, if that really bothers you, you can place a piece of pattern paper down before you put your pockets on. Personally, I don't prefer that, because I like to place my pattern paper over these 1/2 inch strips, so my photo mats slide in easier and everything is hide it from, all the construction is hide it with my pattern paper, but just keep that in mind. I also don't prefer the look, but it will make your project more functional, so just whatever you want to do. So like I said, the fold line is going to be on the left hand side. I'm going to start with piece E, which is the regular pocket. You do this however you prefer to do this, what works for you, right? I'm going to remove the tape backing of the long part, which is the bottom, and I'm going to line up my right bottom corner with the right bottom corner of piece D. So just take your time on this. If you want to add some wet glue to your double-sided tape, give you some wiggle time, do all those things. I'm lining up the bottom edge here and I'm just pushing it down, but my tape backing is still on there, so I don't have to worry about it. And yeah, I'm going to grab my my Scotch tape, which is not Scotch branded at the moment, but that's okay. So just some regular tape. This is something that I like to do because when I place pattern paper, I don't place it all the way in. I'm going to place this over the ½ inch that I just attached. So when a photo mat goes in, it slides over just that little bit easier. It's a cheap and easy step. Just make that process easier. And now I can remove my tape backings here. And just stick it down one side here and then stick down the other side. And again, I will show you how we have that space there. See? That's what we want. So you didn't do anything wrong. That's on purpose. Then our piece F. So we fold it on our side flaps. We are going to slide this 3/4 inch part here into piece E. And it should stop at the score line. And just make sure everything lines up. Like I see here that I have to do a little bit of a correction there, and that's just fine. But just try to line up with your cut edge. I also have a little bit sticking out there that I don't like. So I'm going to cut that away as well. So this is why I like to give things a dry fit. I just know when I'm about to stick this down, I just need to correct it slightly. I'm going to remove my tape backings and I'm going to get in a little bit more. I hope my head is not going to be in frame too much. So what I'm trying to do is just bring it along that cut edge there and then stick it down on the other side. And again, I just have a little thing hanging out there. Maybe I need to use my smaller. There we go. Just cut that off. And then we have our first piece D done. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other set, only this time I need to make sure that my folded edge is on the right hand side instead of on the left hand side. Start with a piece E. I'm gonna go a little quicker this time, but again you can pause or rewind if you need to. And this time I'm starting on the left bottom corner. Line that up, bring it along the bottom. Give it a burnish and try not to forget my tape. If you forget, you know, it's not the end of the world. It just makes it so much nicer when you put photo mats in. And remove the tape backing. And just stick it along the edge and then bring it to the other side. Then give this a dry fit. Especially with stack pockets, I really advise you to try it before you stick it down. Just make sure that it either fits or know how and where to correct it if it's going over your cut edge. So this time it was pretty good. I could just bring it all the way down to the score line. It will stop. It won't go any further than that. But I didn't have to do any corrections. And the reason that I've made this 3/4 of an inch here on piece F is so that now with the angle we still look up to that pocket, right? If we would do 1/2 inch, there would be a gap there. So now that we've made these, we can place them in our folio. Again, I'm going to make sure that, and this time it's going to start to be important, my strip there is on the right hand side. So that's going to be the back cover. And I'm going to place my pieces D, the ones that we've just made with the stack pocket, on top of piece C. So the one with the flap on the right hand side will go on the left hand side of the folio and vice versa. So let's just do one. What you can do is to make it easy for yourself is to push down on your 1/4 inch gusset towards the spine. So it's underneath the piece. You can give that a burnish. That will won't be a problem. And I'm going to center it on here, and I'm going to do that a little bit controlled because I'm a control freak like that. I think I will have for the center about 3/8 of an inch on top and bottom. Yes, so I'm just bringing it to that point. I just push it up with my ruler to where I'm lined up with the 3/8 inch. Get a pencil and just make a little tick mark there. That's for me my guidance onto where to place it. And then I can remove my tape backing here. Just that little bit, and here my tape backing is still on, so I can move it around without sticking. Just line it up with that pencil mark, and basically what I do is I just cover that pencil mark with my piece so I don't see it anymore. I don't have to hustle to remove it, and just bring it along that fold line, which I push down on that gusset, right? And then without pushing too hard on this so I don't move it, I carefully remove the tape backing. Open this up, burnish that down, and then we can push back on that 1/4 inch so our flap is lined up with that edge there. So let's do the same thing on this side. I'm going to push down on that 1/4 inch on top of the spine, fold on my 1/2 inch flap here, making sure I have it. Ooh, that was basically perfect. 3/8 of an inch from the bottom. Make a little tick mark. Remove my tape backing slightly there, and just bring it along that folded edge that we just pushed down on. Hold it with my hands. Don't push too hard on the tape part so you can remove it carefully. And make sure you burnish that down, and we have our stacked pocket in place. So we can continue with our flaps here.